and thanks for being with us tonight. I'll call this meeting of Montgomery County School Board to order at 7 o'clock on March 5th, 2019. Please stand for a Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now, our student school board representatives, they are sitting at the dais on each side, will read our mission, vision, and core value statements.
We would like to welcome all of our guests to our school board meeting tonight. Here at Montgomery County Schools, our mission is that every student will graduate career and college ready and become a productive, responsible citizen. Our vision is to inspire learning by providing a nurturing environment, positive relationships, high expectations, and continuous growth.
Here in Montgomery County Schools, our values for everyone include physical safety and emotional well-being, mutual trust and respect, open communication, accountability, engagement and lifelong learning, and cultural diversity. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. Our next item will be adopting our agenda. May I have a motion to adopt our agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Motion and second. Ms. Drake, do you need us? Mr. Chabaka motioned the agenda and Ms. Graham seconded. Sorry, didn't realize you were not there. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We have an agenda. Next item will be Dr. Myers' announcements. Dr. Myers.
All right, thanks, and welcome everyone tonight. A lot of things have been happening the last couple of weeks and are scheduled to happen the next few weeks. I'd like to recognize a couple of state champions, our girls indoor track team at Blacksburg High School and our boys outdoor indoor track team at Christiansburg High School. And both won the state championship by a couple of weeks ago, so just real proud of them. Unfortunately, our Christiansburg wrestling team were state runners-up for the first time in 17 years, and but they still competed and had an excellent state tournament. The second place is really good as well. So had the chance to watch the Auburn boys basketball team play the other night in state quarterfinals. They had won the region, and they were playing in the state quarterfinals the other night. They were up by 3 with about 5 seconds to go, and a kid from the other team hit a three-pointer to send it in overtime at the buzzer, and then they lost in overtime. And so that was disappointing, but they had a great season as well, and enjoyed watching those young men play. I'd like to recognize our finance department. We received the 2017-18 Meritorious Budget Award from the Association of School Business Officials Internationals. This is definitely a true reflection of the finance department's commitment to fiscal integrity. So Mr. Krantz and Katie Miano, is she here? But anyway, okay, she's working actually right now. And so, but that's the commitment we're talking about. So we appreciate that. I'll remind the school board that we'll vote on phase 1 of redistricting on April 2nd. Remember, the next meeting is the joint meeting with the Board of Supervisors on April 2nd. There seems to be a consensus for option 2 as the option, and if that is not the case, then please let us know, but that seems to be the option that you all are leaning towards from the comments from the last meeting. So but we will vote on April 2nd. I'd like to commend our schools on celebrating Black History Month. This past month, every school participated in the school division. Other things that occurred, our HR department held its first minority employee social event to help foster community and build relationships amongst our minority employees. And so thanks to the HR department for doing that. Also, our social media channels featured a weekly post about the extraordinary impact of Christiansburg Institute throughout the month of February. A lot of our schools did a lot of great things this past month to celebrate, and we do appreciate that. This past weekend, Blacksburg Middle School hosted at Blacksburg High School the TSA competition, and in fact, I see our sponsor there, and many winners from Blacksburg Middle School, and we we definitely commend what you guys are doing, and just I got a chance to stop by, and just some amazing young students. So excellent job. Some upcoming events. If you have a chance this Friday morning, board members, at 8 a.m. At Blacksburg Middle School, the BMS Farm Bots, and this is in collaboration with Virginia Tech. We're integrating farm bots into the tech ed classes at all 4 of our middle schools. And I had the opportunity to go to Virginia Tech to actually witness the farm bots, but the students program the bot to plant seeds, water plants, monitor and control growing conditions, and measures the impact on plant growth. It's really just amazing, the partnership we have with Virginia Tech in this program. So also, we have a teacher licensure interest meeting coming up for people with a bachelor's degree who are interested in becoming a teacher. We're hosting that on March 14th at 6 p.m. So far, we have more than 30 people who have signed up for that. And then on March 23rd, we have our teacher job fair from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. And how many folks have signed up for that so far? We got about 120 teacher candidates who have signed up for our job fair. So real excited about that, and we're looking forward to hiring some of the best. So that's about it.
Most wonderful. Thank you.
Mhm.
Our next agenda item will be honors, awards, and recognitions. And I think we will start with our student rep reports. Who wants to go ahead?
I'll go ahead.
Ladies first.
All right, so the end of February, Blacksburg culminated Black History Month with an assembly and a shopping cart parade. Mr. Lewis, the principal at Christiansburg Primary School, opened the assembly with the Black National Anthem. This was followed by 2 productions by our theater program and a really engaging guest speaker, Jeff May. Mr. May was awarded the 2017 NAACP Education Award. In terms of extracurriculars for February, like Dr. Meyer said, our boys swim team are state champions. Our indoor track.
I missed the swim team. I'm so
You
sorry.
missed the swim
You're right. And Coach Riley is my next door neighbor. I apologize. Okay.
And our girls indoor track team also won states. And then the girls swim team didn't win states, but they got 2nd place. And then the same with the boys for indoor track. And then our MAC teams, all of them advanced to the Super MAC except for English. And I think the next competition is next week at Virginia Tech. And then we will be hosting the region band assessment on Thursday or Friday of this week. For March, Blacksburg will be focusing on resiliency with our school, basically creating kind of like a widespread positive behavior emphasis. And the 3 Bs, be ready, be resilient, be respectful. We will be focusing on be resilient for March. And then our spring sports have started.
Good.
End of the school year is approaching pretty fast. Yes, Brett.
At EMHS, soccer, track, baseball, and softball have started strong. Many students have been working hard after school at practice. AEP held a presentation yesterday at EMHS during our Power Hour to promote a career and educational opportunity through New River Community College. Power Hour has been a fantastic addition to our schedule at EMHS, has truly alleviated stress associated with tutoring, has allocated time during the day every week for clubs. Mr. Eaton is planning 2 trips to Washington, D.C., one for seniors, which will include like the Amtrak up and back down. And then there's also going to be one for all others that are interested to experience D.C., both of which I hope get approved by y'all today.
It did, I think.
The EMHS Environmental Science Club is also planning a beach trip at the end of this month to get students involved with the environment. Overall, I believe that East Montgomery High School is looking forward to a strong finish to this semester.
That's awesome.
Very good. And so next we have Here to present tonight, Blacksburg Middle School. Ms. Widener's here to introduce her school and students.
Hi, my name is Haley Ogle, and we are Blacksburg Middle School students here to talk to you about virtual reality in the classroom.
Hello, my name is Theo, and I'm here to introduce VR to you. As virtual reality is getting used more and more in society, Blacksburg Middle School has started to integrate VR into our learning, allowing students to use their more logical, analytical, and objective side of their brain. And if VR is utilized correctly, it will open up a new world of experiences that would not be possible otherwise.
Virtual reality is an artificial environment made by a computer. So when you put on the headset, it looks like a computer game on the inside. In the class I took with Erica, we did inventions and innovations, and we were able to interact with a game called Fantastic Contraptions. In this game, we built a machine. We were to build a machine that could move a ball to a specific location, and the task got harder each level of the game. As we went through, we learned about simple machines and problem-solving skills.
Fantastic Contraption is a game about building and using your creativity. The challenge of the game is simple. You have to get the pink ball to the pink goal. And to do that, you have to build a fantastic contraption.
So good. Awesome.
Specifically, in our school, we work hard to embrace teamwork. And VR enhances teamwork not just on the inside, but also on the outside, too. With our VR setup at the middle school, 2 people can physically be doing the VR setup at one time, but the whole class can mentally be doing it, too. What I could see on the inside of the goggles was also projected on the board, so the whole class could see it, interact, and give me good solutions while we were doing it.
Also in this class, we got to play a game called Job Simulator, and we were able to simulate jobs in a job museum run by robots. We were able to explore real occupations such as auto mechanic, gourmet chef, store clerk, and office worker. I chose the office worker as my occupation, where I was engaged in activities such as simple office tasks, like making photocopies and stapling papers. This was a good experience for me and my other classmates because we got to experience what jobs are like in real life. It was very interactive and can help teachers lighten up projects and class time. One part that was nice about it is that it didn't just have one job. You could pick from lots of different jobs. Finally, it provided an incentive for finishing work early during class. This is a video of someone in the class playing the game.
While students individually rotate through the VR experience, we also had the opportunity to work with a video game design software called Unity. First, we were challenged to create 3-dimensional environment for the game, and later on code various objects and scripts. The learning intentions for the software include coding skills, critical thinking skills, and problem-solving skills. We were also challenged to create a game in which the user moves a blue cube around to get to the green cube without running into the red cube. We learned coding skills with C# as we designed an environment and used critical thinking and problem-solving skills. This is the beginning to creating the VR experience.
Some ways VR is used in our school is In our earth science classes, they were able to interact with the VR exploring the blue, oceans the blue. And in the enrichment classes, we got to use Google Earth and Van Gogh's A Starry Night after reading a book around virtual reality. And the BHS coding class actually came down to the middle school and worked on Unity at workstations, fantastic contraptions, and keep talking, no one explodes. But school is not the only place VR can be used. If you have the right programs, VR can be used in everyday life. A couple of examples are workplace and medical school training. Mining companies use VR to show new employees what a mine would look like before they enter it. And at the vet school at Virginia Tech, students use VR to learn surgeries before moving onto real animals.
Whoa, that goes so far. Oh my gosh, I don't know how to get it back.
So, hi everyone, my name is Zena Avigyan, and today I'm here to talk to you guys about virtual field trips. So, what are virtual field trips and how are they useful? Well, imagine this. A student is walking into their classroom and thinking to themselves that today they are going to go to any country in the world that they want to go to. Think of the possibilities. Students could walk past the Eiffel Tower, dive into the history of Rome with the Colosseum, look down into the Grand Canyon or up into the Hollywood sign. Virtual field trips are also a great educational tool for students because we get to learn about other countries' cultures, historical landmarks, historical sites, and famous landmarks. I'm going to show you guys a video of a student going through a virtual field trip of their country.
And then, oh my God. Oh. You're fine. You're not gonna fall. Look at that. That is so cool.
Oh my god. Look at that person.
Oh, and here's Kuwait Tower. Okay. Have you been on them?
Yeah. And this is just
how
like
many floors does it
see the
have?
whole city.
Sam Bob wants to know how many floors.
And you see this right here? It's like the restaurant, and then on the top, like that circle on the very top, it's to see the whole Kuwait city. I think we have like
That's amazing.
This is what virtual field trips can do to us. They open up our minds and release the wonders of the world. Thank you.
The Visualizing History team at Virginia Tech created and brought in a virtual reality experience where we could go through the tunnels used by soldiers at Vauquois. Vauquois was a battle site during World War I, and we covered World War I in our 7th grade history class. It was very informational, sorry, and it talked about life in the tunnels and shows pictures to further give students examples of what they were learning. There are a lot of historical sites that students wish they could see but have never had the opportunity to before. You probably know a lot of students are visual learners and don't understand the materials well by just reading, but virtual reality is interesting and memorable, and it sticks in students' minds. Here's a video of me actually going through the virtual reality experience.
From the winter of 1915,
So, VR is a new resource for students to be able to truly experience the topic of which they're learning, and this is a prime example. As you can see, students could look in any direction, and that made them feel like they were truly in the environment. In some VR experiences like this one, you can look around, up, down, and even get closer to see things in better detail.
living spaces with graffiti and engravings.
It's amazing.
They carved symbols of faith and loyalty. In response to the ever-present fear of attack by countermine, both Germans and French employed increasingly sophisticated methods of detection of enemy activity. A simple pan of water, whose ripples would indicate enemy activity, would soon be replaced by the geophone, which was essentially a stethoscope that could detect even the faintest sounds of excavation. The geophone became an essential tool.
Sure, we can look at pictures, but why not really experience it?
So you might ask, how is VR impacting our students' future? By students learning about a subject by living it and getting immersed into the topic rather than learning by limited word description and book illustrations, they learn by remembering it for the long term, rather than just for a test or a grade. And with the VR dynamic and engaging experiences, it can also teach students life lessons out of school, such as a job simulator. VR makes it easy for students to engage in a learning environment, making experiences really memorable for the students. This is how VR is impacting our students' future.
Hi, I'm Alice, and I'm here to conclude this presentation. Teachers at BMS are embracing VR just as much as the students. Here's a couple quotes from teachers. It was hard to pull the students away from the VR experience. They all loved it. The students loved the activity with the VR experience. I also have a few quotes from students who went through the VR experience. I think it helped me understand some of the things that happened in the trench and what they really look like and stuff. It was very useful in learning communication. In conclusion, all of our students and staff really like VR. It's super fun for teachers and students, and we hope we'll keep seeing it worked into our curriculum. We already use it for a lot, and as the technology advances, we hope to use it to do even more. Thank you for your time. Does anyone have any questions?
So actually, we had the wrong version of that PowerPoint up, and some of our students didn't get a chance to speak. So if you'll give me just 1 second, we're going to pull up the right version so that those students can have a chance to share what they want to share. Does that sound good?
Can we ask questions?
Ask
while do
questions.
You may
that? Yeah.
absolutely ask
I
questions.
had a question on the Unity software. What is that again, and how does it relate to the? Is that a programming environment where you can actually do programming within the VR environment then?
So Unity is basically software to it's kind of where you program the VR,
Okay.
but anyone can download it. It's free and any schools can use it. So yeah, it's a software that develops VR. Yeah.
That's really cool.
That's really great.
And I don't know if anybody on the board has had I had a chance to go try out the simulator, and I used, I think, the machine one where you had to build the machines and stuff, and it was really cool. It was fun, but one of the nice educational things about it that I found was it was really easy to learn by failing, which is obviously, there's higher consequences for that in the real world, but in the virtual world, it was kind of easy to fail, but you learn you learn so much more by failing actually than succeeding in things. So it is really a neat learning experience. So.
And I would say any school board members, if you want to stop by the school at some point and try it out, let us know. We'll be glad to hook you up with that. We actually had our administrators try some version of it out. I think I went to Iceland one day, so it's really neat. So, yeah.
All right, do we know? Let's see, we saw that. You guys have to stop me. Okay. Perfect.
My name is Marcia Kamu. So, in 7th grade social studies, we also use Google Expeditions in our iPods and VR headsets to learn about historical events. This differs from our other VR headset because it isn't as interactive, but it also allows for more students to look at the same thing at the same time. So for our immigration unit, we took on the role of some immigrants, and then we went through each station of Ellis Island, and we had to think about what our immigrant would think at that time due to their circumstances.
So for World War I, what we did was we used it with the iPods, and everybody could go in the trenches, and it really helped students that wanted to be engaged in the activity, and it actually helped students who weren't engaged. And it also helps teachers because they can go in and look at stuff to help them have fun, but also learn about stuff. And then after they could really, because a lot of times when you have fun, you generally think about stuff more. So they would be able to summarize a lot better, and I've seen that with students there. So I think it's really good.
For the Great Depression, we looked at the circumstances American citizens had to go through, including the Dust Bowl, Hoovervilles, and breadlines.
Summarize the iPods. I think it's really helped students, like I had already said with the World War I. It's really helped students overall just learn about the activities. And like she had said with the Oculus, it's a lot different from that, but then again, you get to be with your friends and classmates, and it just helps the learning environment a lot more because the teacher can be talking, but you can also talk back and just look at things. Because one of the other things with the apps we use, I don't remember which one it is, but one of the apps we use, they can mark things for us, and then all the students can look like that, like with the virtual field trips. But sorry.
Thank you.
I was going to say, thank you so much.
Thank you
Absolutely
so much.
wonderful. Any other questions?
Well, what a way of learning. I'm sure you all remember what you see through those goggles. It's much better than reading the textbooks. It's so
Great
nice.
presentation.
Thank
Thank you.
Excellent.
Great job.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank
Ms. White.
you.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Would y'all like to come up and stand in front
You
of
can all, line up
the
around
dais?
the dais. Yes.
While they're doing that, I'm going to go off topic and embarrass one of our students here. Zena was actually the first student in a group of fifth graders who received an MCEF grant
Stand up.
3 years ago. What grade are you in now? So I'd like to congratulate on her. She's obviously done well. Good job.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Nice
Great
job.
job.
Excellent. And now for other awards and presentations, Dr. Graham, if you would come up. That's okay. All right.
Good evening. We have another group of awards tonight, our Seniors of the Month, and for that I would ask Mr. Polly to come up and introduce our Seniors of the Month program.
Thank you, Dr. Graham, Dr. Meyer, Ms. Cron, members of the board. A very special highlight of our board meeting is the recognition of a Senior of the Month from each of our 4 high schools. Photos and leadership profiles are displayed on the presentation board in the lobby. We have a presentation format that provides a snapshot of each senior and a quote from their administrator or teacher who nominated them for this recognition. It is my pleasure to present the following presenters this evening. Chris Stewart, principal of Auburn High School, will be first, followed by Brian Kitts, principal of Blacksburg High School, then Tony Deibler, principal of Christiansburg High School, and finally Danny Knott, principal of Eastern Montgomery High School. Thank you.
Good evening, school board members, Dr. Graham, Dr. Meyer. It's my privilege to present to you Auburn High School's March Senior of the Month, Anna Elizabeth Wilson. I'd like to invite Anna to come on up and join me with her family. Anna is here tonight with her parents, Brian and Robin Wilson, along with her grandparents and many of her siblings, which consist of some current and future Eagles. I'd like to just take a moment and read a brief statement by one of our staff members at Auburn High School about Anna. Anna is an excellent student with an outstanding work ethic. She is diligent in her studies and strives to do her very best. In addition to being an excellent student, Anna is an incredibly kind and thoughtful young woman. She always has a smile on her face and is a joy to have in the classroom. Congratulations, Anna.
Good evening. Blacksburg High School is excited to present our Senior of the Month, Brooke Anderson. Brooke is accompanied by Dad Peter and Mom Judith. Would you all please come forward and be recognized? Brooke is a wonderful young lady who has excelled both academically and through extracurriculars at BHS. She is a strong student, constantly taking classes that will challenge and push her. She is also historian of the National Honor Society, vice president of Junior Assembly of DECA, vice president of FCA, and was a captain for the first BHS softball team to ever make it to the state tournament. Brooke is a wonderful representation of a well-rounded individual who excels in all areas of her high school career, and we are proud to have her as our Senior of the Month.
Good evening. It is my pleasure to inform the board that the Christiansburg High School Senior of the Month for January was Julia Moschella. So at this time, I'd like to ask Julia and her parents to come forward at this time to be recognized. Julia was playing basketball in January when we had the original recognition. Here is what some teachers and coaches have to say about Julia. Julia is has an outstanding work ethic, which she displays in all aspects of her life. She demonstrates an intrinsic motivation to achieve and succeed. She maintains a sharp focus on her future and allows this ambition to guide her academically. She consistently provides effective leadership with a fantastic combination of confidence, humility, and determination. These qualities have translated into success in the classroom, on the court, and in the community. Additionally, she exhibits the moxie needed to excel in any life endeavors. So next year, Julia plans to attend the University of Virginia to study kinesiology. Congratulations, Julia. Now it's my pleasure to inform the board that the Christiansburg High School Senior of the Month from March is Alex Barrett. At this time, I'd like to ask Alex and her family to come forward. Here's what teachers have to say about Alex. Alex has proven herself not only as an incredibly ambitious student, but also as a dependable and indispensable addition to the Technology Student Association. And by the way, I'll add that she took first place in 2 events this past week. We'll proceed to state. She has evolved into an extremely effective leader, team player, and mentor, always encouraging others to work together and maintain their values. Furthermore, she consistently exhibits a steadfast future vision, rarely observed in other students her age. She is a highly impactful student with the drive and determination to be successful in all of the opportunities and challenges she will encounter in life. Alex plans to attend Virginia Tech in the fall and major in engineering. Congratulations, Alex.
Good evening. It's an honor for me tonight to introduce to you Eastern Montgomery High School's March Senior of the Month, Clinton Obenchain. He's accompanied by his father tonight and a host of other family members, if they would come forward. EMHS teacher Jenny Brown had this to say about Clinton. Clinton is awesome. His enthusiasm for school and the people in the school is unmatched by any other. Academically, Clinton is a hard worker. With nearly perfect attendance, he has maintained all A's since his freshman year. His favorite classes include PE and cabinet making. He has been an integral member of the EMHS recycling team since 9th grade. For the past 2 school years, he has worked daily at the Children's Academic Center in Shawsville, logging over 200 volunteer hours. It has been noted by the owner that his service is priceless. They would be at a loss without him. Clinton is the biggest fan of EMHS athletics, especially the varsity football and basketball teams, both of which he is an honorary member. His biggest athletic accomplishment was putting the Mustangs on the scoreboard for the last regular season home game against Bath County, in which he scored the first 2 points for us. After high school, Clinton plans to continue to live in the Eastern Montgomery community with his family. He hopes to have a job where he gets to work outside with others and provide a helping hand to anyone in need. Congratulations, Clinton.
That concludes our recognitions for tonight. We will take a 5-minute break so that we may congratulate all those that were recognized.
Scheduled meeting, the school board sets aside up to 30 minutes for citizens to address the board. Issues pertaining public education in Montgomery County. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes to speak, and the screens throughout the room and the laptop will indicate when 30 seconds left and the 3 minutes has passed. As a reminder, the board does not respond to speakers during this time. Also, our policy does not allow comments about personalities, use of intemperate, abusive, defamatory language. If a speaker violates the policy, they will be ruled out of order. At this time, I have 4 individuals sign up. Looks like one pair maybe came to celebrate their student, Ron and Sharon Barrett. I think they were here earlier to recognize their student. Next individual sign up to speak is Keith Palmer. I feel like they are all thought they have to sign up to come in. And the last one is Sonny Patton. Please come forward, state your name and address, and then you have 3 minutes, sir.
Good evening, members of the board. I didn't prepare a speech. I'm going to keep it short. My name is Sonny Patton. I live at 1381 Dow Street here in Christiansburg, Virginia. I went to the Board of Supervisors and I vouched for you guys to get some money to build new schools. And I couldn't attend last week. I wanted to, but I had to work late and didn't get to attend that meeting either. Hopefully, we get you guys some money pretty soon. I want to emphasize that please go with option 2. Interstate 81, they're currently doing construction at Interstate 81. That's not going to be completed until the fall of 2021. There's currently a Jersey wall it's in the median. Eventually, that Jersey wall is going to go to the on-ramp. And so if there's an accident, there's nowhere for those kids to, it's going to be a catastrophe. That's it. Just please go with option 2. Thank you.
Thank you. And that will conclude our public address. Now public address is closed.
Oh, I didn't sign up, but do you have to sign up?
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's up to you.
Come forward. Yes, sir. sorry, I tried to, but you weren't probably in it when I tried to mention that we have to sign up before we
Sorry.
take this. That's
I'll
all
do
right.
that next
That's
time.
all right.
My name is Glenn Chilcote. I live at 125 Wooden Shoe Court in Christiansburg. Board Chair Karan, Dr. Meyer, and members of the board. After seeing Mr. Meadows' budget proposal, I want to express my concern that compensation, specifically the 3.5% raise that was initially proposed, continues to be a top priority for the board, especially when it comes to budget revisions. When I think of all employees in Montgomery County, the first word that comes to mind is loyalty. Every day I see teachers, support professionals, custodians, bus drivers, and nurses that are vested in the success of our students. We choose to live and work in Montgomery County. We choose to spend our careers fostering and caring for kids. We engage, we encourage, and we empower every student that is entrusted into our care. Please honor our commitment to Montgomery County. We are loyal employees who are dedicated to our students. I ask for your acknowledgement, not with kind words, but with a 3.5% raise. I know we need new schools. We've needed them in Christiansburg even before the roof collapsed to BHS. We also need school buses, we need new employees, we need safer schools, and the list continues. I understand that our needs are great, but I ask that when you're deliberating on the budget, please keep people in the forefront. Thank you.
Thank you. Now the public address is closed. The next item will be our consent items. Anything, you have a question regarding consent agenda, board members? If not, we'll consider them approved as they are. We have 4 grant proposals and field trips.
I love the diversity of what we're doing in our grants. It's really awesome.
It's really exciting. If no other questions, we'll consider them approved as they are. The next item will be paying our bills. May I have a motion to approve the bill payments as presented?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Any questions regarding the payment of bills, item A? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We pay those bills. May I have a motion to approve the January bill payments as presented? That's payment of bills, item B.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any questions regarding those? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We pay our bills. The next item will be acknowledging the receipt of financial summary report. May I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Any question regarding the report? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We approve our financial report. Next business item will be the board member reports. I would like to start with my little report, and that will be celebrating Miss Drake. Coming there. Third week in February, it was VSBA's Board Clerk Appreciation Month, but unfortunately, Ms. Drake was sick. So we like to thank you on behalf of the board, all you do and help us out, and then also what you do for the MCPS. So it's a little token of appreciation. Thank you. Any other board members who would like to jump and, Ms. Fraga?
Sure,
Go
I'll
for
start
it.
this one this time. First, I apologize for not being here at our last meeting. I was out of the country on vacation. But I did get to watch the meeting, and I noticed that one thing Dr. Meyer reported in his summary was the fact that we had done the eggs and issues for the Montgomery County Chamber, talking about the budget. And I also wanted to throw in the fact that that was actually sponsored by the Educational Foundation, and something we hope to do on a regular basis is sponsor those types of informational sessions with our county, with business leaders, to get the word out about, our situation, the budget, things like that. And while I'm on the subject of the foundation, of course, the poetry contest closed on Thursday, and the poetry and writing essays are now in the hands of the judges. I have received one set of results, but I have given them until March 14th. I'm already getting emails asking, when we find out. So you'll find out sometime after March 14th. Definitely before the next April meeting, which is when we will present the winners to the board. I went to one Blacksburg Town Council session, watched some of the others on the video. I did miss the one while I was gone. And primarily what they're dealing with right now, of course, are rezoning, which is a lot of what they do, apparently. Just a couple of things to note that would affect us in particular, and there have been a couple of op-eds just recently in the paper about what is going on with the old Blacksburg Middle School site. Of course, the approved rezoning request has expired, and the developer has come back with a different proposal, so that has prompted that they have had to apply for a new rezoning. But what seems to be the real hang-up, just reading as best I can between the lines, so don't hold me to this, is that the big problem right now is who's going to pay for the parking garage. And they're kind of throwing it out as something they, I think, are hoping that the town and the county might pay for. I don't remember hearing anything last night in Mr. Meadows' budget about that, so not sure how that's going to impact the final sale and development of that property, but something definitely to keep our eyes on. It's still ongoing. And that was the majority of what they, I think, have been dealing with this month. They are trying to address also what they're going to do in the future and just handling all of this demand for student housing and where it's going to go and how that's going to end up affecting us as well. And then, of course, the occasional development that could affect us when it brings in families. So, but that was definitely the main thing they've been dealing with. And then the other thing I did attend the budget session last night. I just want to make a couple comments on things. I've also been meeting with members of the Board of Supervisors. I've met with 6 out of the 7 so far. And just a couple things have come up that either concern me or I want to make note of. One comment that Mr. Meadows made last night is that, they're waiting for a strategic plan from us to decide what to do about the schools. And when I met with Mr. King today, I pointed out to him, we've known what we want to do with these schools for a long, long, long time. As Ms. Karan pointed out in the meeting, back in 2005, we were talking about Christiansburg schools. As the speaker pointed out, before the gym collapse, we were talking about Christiansburg schools. We've known what we wanted in Christiansburg for a long time. It's how it's going to be paid for that we're not hearing, and that's why we have to keep changing what we're doing, because we keep getting told there isn't money to build a new elementary school and renovate and build Christiansburg High School. And we come up with plans and they get rejected. And so I just want to make sure everyone understands that the school board knows what they want. We're just waiting for it to be paid for or something figured out how we're going to do this. So that's concerned me. And then just a lot of talk about why is an enrollment of, and it's not enrollment, it's ADM of a couple hundred students so significant. And I tried to explain to several of the board members why that is significant. First of all, we know that ADM is not a true reflection of the actual number of students we have in our system. And just because a student is absent, we still have to have a chair there for them. So we've been dealing with numbers larger than that. But to put it in proportion, what I've been telling them is, so if you bring in 224 students to a division of 10,000 students, that's the equivalent of bringing in 2,240 residents to a county of 100,000. Do you think we can do that without building new houses or apartments? Of course not. Are we going to ask them to squeeze into somebody else's house? Are we going to ask them to live in a trailer for a few years while we wait for their house to be built?
Absolutely.
No. So why should we be doing this to our kids? So I just wanted to throw those two things out there.
That was perfect.
Good point.
Perfect.
That was a good analogy.
I guess I'll go next. I guess I've started my new round of visiting schools. I think I did GLE last month. I did Harding this month, and have also gone by the high school a couple times. I did want to mention on my Harding trip that one of the things that we talked about was their growth and Modulars. It was probably less than 2 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, when I had asked a teacher there, somebody there, what do you do if, what are we going to do if we get, another classroom of kids? And at that time, it was like, oh, well, we've got that area, we've got that, we can, it was kind of like, we can still grow by a few, oh, okay. And, here we are, somewhere around, 2 years later, and I walked around and all of those spaces are completely filled out. And so, like Ms. Froggatt says, we know what we're doing in Christiansburg. We know that's the priority. And now the smart thing that we need to do is start planning for other parts of the county where we're having growth and where we're going to have problems, and hopefully get solutions in place before they become too big of a problem. I did also attend the BHS TSA event briefly, and had a good chance to I cornered poor Miss Parker in the hallway and talked to her for a little bit about some of that stuff. It brought to the forefront in my mind anyway, and I've brought this up before, but the idea of looking into in the future, looking into doing stipends for some of our teachers who lead these kind of large clubs that require a lot. I mean, they're basically part-time jobs and they're not being paid for it. So that's something that hopefully I'll be talking to Dr. Meyer about. And then lastly, this is an election year for my seat, so I have spent some time talking with my family and thinking about what I want to do in the future here. I was watching a documentary this week on the movie Office Space. Do you guys know that movie? And it's a 1999 film that came out and about work in the corporate office, and it kind of was a surprise hit and kind of became somewhat of a cult classic, and they were kind of exploring in this documentary why that was, and one of the reasons I think was that they mentioned that so many people have work that is not rewarding. They go to work and they have to file their TPS reports and whatnot, and and I think that I'm very fortunate, we're all very fortunate to be doing something that actually is very rewarding, and I feel a little bit of camaraderie with the teachers and staff that also in a lot of times make sacrifices to do this job, because it is rewarding and it's something that we all love to do. So it's been an honor to do this job. It's probably one of the best and most rewarding jobs I've had, and I think as long as I am able and I'm effective, and my constituents would like for me to do it again, I'd like to do it again. So today I'm announcing that I do intend to seek a second term for my seat in District G for the school board. And we have a great leadership team and staff that I'm excited about, a lot of what's going on under Dr. Meyer's leadership. I'm excited about working with this board. I think it's a pretty unified board. I know we disagree on things sometimes, but I think overall, I think we're all on the same page about what we need to do for kids. So hopefully things will work out well, and I'll get another 4 years with you guys.
That's great. We're excited to hear that.
I can go next, sure. So Ms. Karan and I recently attended the Greater Montgomery Liaison meeting. So that includes the town of Christiansburg, town of Blacksburg, Virginia Tech, Montgomery County, and then of course MCPS. And Ms. Froggatt was exactly right in reading between the lines. The parking garage is the issue, and they actually mentioned that when they gave us all their information, which, trust me, was a lot of notes. They also did say that they were close to meeting the needs of student housing, with the developments that are happening now. There's a mountain bike skills park that's opening on the side of Brush Mountain. And what else did I want to say on that? I guess that was it. Okay, so I also wanted to, since the Virginia General Assembly just ended their session, I wanted to share some budget highlights that relate to K through 12 public education. And I just want to get this out there so that the public knows the great job that our legislators did this year in pushing for some good new investments in education. One of them doesn't specifically relate to education, but it relates to all of our students, and that is they added $15 million for broadband expansion, which will eventually benefit our students whenever we can get it in the places that we need it. Then, of course, the new investments in education. They added $35 million to the Literary Fund for school construction and gave low-interest loans. Now, $35 million may sound like a lot, but that really only means one small elementary school somewhere in Virginia, just to put it in perspective. They also gave $12 million for school counselors. And again, to put that in perspective, we have 2,182 schools in Virginia. So at best, we would be able to hire 300 school counselors on the $12 million they added. So just think about how that would actually spread out. It's still a step in the right direction, don't get me wrong, and it's part of their mental health initiative that the state is doing. So it's great to see, and it will also is a start in reducing our student to counselor ratios, which desperately needs to be done so that we get more one-on-one time counseling with our students. The third thing, of course, was the salary increase, the most important. So this is the largest in 15 years. The 5% can be spread across more than 1 year. They've added some new stipulations because we thankfully had already given some raise last year that wasn't supplemented by the state, correct? And so that factored into us not having to do the whole 5%, which would be really tough, even on a growth area like we're in. But definitely it would be really tough on other areas that aren't growing. So it is exciting that we are able to do an average of 3.5%. That doesn't mean everybody's getting a 3.5%. It's an average across the board. So it's very exciting that we're hopefully able to do that once we look at the new budget numbers, given what Mr. Meadows presented last night. But I also want to mention, just for the record, that, and I say this all the time, the state is just giving us this money for SOQ positions. So that doesn't mean every teacher, that doesn't mean custodians, that doesn't mean bus drivers, that doesn't mean support staff. It doesn't even always mean all the administration, like principals and assistant principals that we have. So we end up funding the rest of those, all from what the county gives us. So I really want to emphasize that. It sounds great. 5% is great, and we've not seen that in years, and I'm very, very thankful. But I still want people to know that there's still a huge portion of that to provide equity across that we, the county, has to fund. Also, I would also like to say that after much thought, actually no thought at all, I plan to run for another 4-year term. Being on the school board has been one of the best jobs I've ever had. And I absolutely love advocating for our students and children, and I love being in the schools and seeing what we're doing, and it's just an awesome place to be supporting.
Thank you. Ms. Parton or Ms. Bond, anything to report at this time?
Yeah, I would. I was fortunate enough to do some rather fun things this month. with some of the things going on at our schools. I was able to attend the Passion Fair at Blacksburg Middle School on February the 12th. It was a really icky day, yucky, pouring down rain, but we had a good crowd there. They were all in the cafeteria, so everything was close together, so it was really easy to get to each one and kind of see a little bit what was going on. Very diverse projects, once again, just blows my mind away what our kids are doing now. One that struck me in particular is a girl who made her own clothes. She taught herself to sew, basically. She had a whole video. You could stand there, she was demonstrating as she was making something, and she showed you the final product. So that was pretty cool. So I was tickled to see a life skill there of her doing that. So that was really fun. I also got to talk with a couple teachers. I talked to our new coding teacher, Miss Loss, who happens to be my neighbor, as well as her husband, and then with Miss Mash, our gifted teacher. And according to both of them, the coding class is going great. Ms. Mash said everything there is going well, so I got 2 good reports, so I was happy to hear that. So that was a very productive afternoon. I also got to attend the Auburn boys varsity basketball game versus George Wythe at Eastern Montgomery High School on Saturday night, February 23rd, state regional semifinals, right?
That was the region finals.
Regional finals, I'm sorry. They won. It was awesome. I was just overwhelmed at this team. They did a fantastic job, not only because they won, but the sportsmanship and the respectfulness that they showed and the school spirit that they showed was just, it just made me very proud of them being in our school district and showing all the pride and everything they had. I was not able to go to the following game that they lost, but I did also want to give a shout out to Mr. Knott and his staff for providing the Eastern Montgomery High School as the site. They did a fantastic job with hosting everything, so kudos to them. They did a wonderful job in doing that. I also went to the athletic parent meeting night at Christiansburg High School. My daughter made the JV softball team. Yay, I'm so proud of her. But I did want to say that I was really amazed at how it was organized chaos. I have to say a shout out to Tim Cromer, the athletic director. He had everything under control. It was wonderful. We had parents and students there from every spring sport. So everybody met in the auditorium, and then every kind of broke out into their own separate sports groups meetings. But a lot of people, a lot going on. They also had the athletic trainer and the athletic doctor there that spoke. Great PowerPoint presentation for all the parents, and so I was very pleased with how that was handled, and that was done very well, executed very well. So kudos to them for that. And I was able to, I'm wanting to really reach out to the Christiansburg school strand, since this is the hot topic that we're discussing. I was able to have a fantastic visit again with Sherry Blevins. I was going to take an upcoming Board of Supervisor candidate. She went with me to Christiansburg High School last Friday. We talked to Principal Deibler. We were there for about 2 hours. We went through that school from top to bottom.
That's wonderful.
We actually walked out on the athletic fields. They looked great, but we had a good visit, talked with some teachers, heard concerns, heard good things, heard things that we need to work on, saw very cramped classrooms, students teachers handling everything great with the circumstances that they have. Mr. Deibler had some awesome ideas for the new or renovated school that I want to talk to Dr. Meyer about, and I'm sure he may have already passed that on to Dr. Meyer, but very exciting. I thought could be very useful. I really enjoyed seeing the tech ed wing. That's the biggest wing there. Very proud of that wing. Good size rooms, but needs updating. But I was very impressed with everything I saw on that wing. The new robotics class, those kids don't want to leave. Those kids ask if they can come in on snow days and come into the classroom and work. I couldn't believe it. I was told to tell you personally that the cosmetology class has 6 girls going to state this year for cosmetology, so that thrilled me to death. I was so happy for them to hear that. So just good things going on, but we are in dire need of very newly renovated, new school. We've just outgrown it. And I would like to say again, I want to invite the Board of Supervisors and any other school board members who have not been in CPS, CES, or Christiansburg High School. I know I sound like a broken record when I say this, but we need updating. We need a new high school. The overcrowding is definitely making a bearing from what I can witness on these students' learning. Buildings do matter, facilities do matter. I've been in all the schools that are new and the schools that need work done, and I can tell a difference. And so I encourage the community, I encourage anybody from the board, from this board, Board of Supervisors, please go see it with your own eyes before you make any decisions, and I think it will be an eye-opener. So I was really glad to be able to do that.
And I would add something to Ms. Parton's recommendation, which is not only go see those schools, but then go out to Eastern Montgomery Elementary and Auburn High School and look at the difference. Because this is a question of equity, something I think we're going to be hearing about here in a little bit. You need to see what we could have and what they don't have. And that's really what you need is that comparison.
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
And you reminded me of something, next Tuesday night, or Tuesday at 5, the first softball game to be held on the CHS campus. And Miss Franklin has agreed to throw the first pitch out.
I saw that.
She's going to throw the first pitch out for us
That's
because
exciting.
she has been at that for several years and pushing to get that softball field at the high school. So 5 o'clock on Tuesday, and you know. I don't know what the weather's going to be like, but
Hopefully better.
Yeah.
Ms. Bowden?
Well, I did most of my spiel last week, because I'm just not real patient. But and when it's on my mind, I gotta spit it out. I couldn't. Now, so I told all my town council and all that.
Share her
I
board
did.
person
I had to.
announcement.
I got it all out. But I do want to take a second and say thank you, Brenda, because I'm a believer, and y'all have heard me over all these years. I stay after, I will go to work early, I don't get lunches every day, I take text messages all evening about haircuts and come in the next day, so I know what it's like to love your job. And I don't know how many times I've had to text you at night, which I hope I'm not a board member that bothers you too much, but, you always text me back, and I know what that means. That means you love your job and you're good at it. And that's what we do when we love our jobs and we're good at them. So I appreciate you, and thank you so much for everything you do. So, and I want to say one other thing. I'm very fortunate to have a bus need driver flyer in my shop, but I will say, and I want to say this first, there's not anything that I wouldn't vote for the bus drivers to have if we have the funding. I would never say no. So when I make this comment, I want everybody to go, oh my gosh, she said. But I couldn't tell you how many people have said, well, I see you're looking for bus drivers because of the flyer. There's not any amount of money or benefits you could pay me to drive a bus. And I can't tell you how many people told me that every single day since I've had the flyer up. I think we have to change that somehow. I don't know how. I don't know. We talk about lobbying. We need to lobby for, I won't say this, I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, stiffer regulations on what parents can say and do to bus drivers, to teachers, to front office people, because I do think that makes a difference. I do think that's a negative turn. I mean, I talk to retired teachers all the time that say, I love my job, I love my students, I couldn't take it anymore. And I just hearing that about, like I said, just people noticing the flyers and saying those things, and I think we've got to change that mentality somehow, and so we can get, and money and benefits always help, but that's not what I was hearing. And like I said, I would never say no. I would give it all. I think they deserve it. I think everybody deserves it. If we have the money and we can do it, great. But I do think somehow we need to look at what's causing that mindset and find out what can we do to change it. I don't know what, but so.
I'm a good friend.
Just an observation, nobody's fault, just it is what it is.
think I did not skip anybody, all right? Before I wrap up our board reports, I want to share, I just attended Governor's School Board meeting this afternoon. They were happy to have me back, but they said they miss you, Mr. Chewbacca. And one of the, two things about that meeting. I think one thing which two of the Christiansburg High School students that we just acknowledged their, Senior of the Month, they were part of a group that they did wonderful at the Governor's School Science Consortium. And we had nine students from total CHN and Christiansburg High School and Auburn High School all together. I think that's the probably maximum that I've seen for a long time. And with, of course, Witt County has the biggest participation in the program in general. But after their number of students, we were the second largest, which was very good. We had engineering area, first place, third place, honorable mention, and one of them actually is our board representative, Ty, from Christiansburg High School, was a third place engineering winner, and Alex, again from Christiansburg High School, was the first place engineering winner. And then environmental science, we have students, genetics, physics, and astronomy, and research awards, bunch of research awards giving. And those students, the 5 of them out of 9, they're selected to submit their research papers to Virginia Junior Academy of Sciences, which they are waiting to hear. If they get accepted, they will go to Old Dominion University at the end of May for competition. And then, so that was very exciting to see that we have many successful students in Governor's School. And the other thing, they reported that, and we might know that Ms. Knapp is in the audience, that the Governor's School like to have students visit them, and I think probably we did in the past, and I'm not sure if we did in the past. It's a free visit. The students, 3rd grade through 8, all free grade-specific activities will do anytime, any day, 11:30 and on. So if we have any groups that are interested in to visit the Governor's School, they're, very eager to show what they are doing there. So I thought I will share that. So that will probably wrap our reports or board reports. And the next item is, I think, the grant coming up.
We have a grant proposal to expand the MCPS Nrcc nursing partnership. New River Community College has been awarded a grant to expand existing programs to prepare students for in-demand career fields. Part of their grant will support our joint initiative with Nrcc to enable our students to complete the first year of the associate degree nursing program while still in high school. Funds will be used to purchase nursing equipment at AHS, BHS, and CHS. So very excited about that possibility. Any questions?
May I have a motion to approve the grant?
So moved.
Second.
Now, any questions?
Now, any questions?
No.
I think we're all
Awesome.
happy that it's happening.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We approve our grant.
Okay. And next, very excited about this presentation. Mr. Simpson is here to present information about the Bruin Academy at Blacksburg High School. And he has several of his teachers here with him. And so, Mr. Simpson.
All right, thank you, Dr. Meyer, Ms. Karan, members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to come and share about an exciting project that we've been working on really since July of last year, when we found out that we were awarded $50,000 from the Department of Ed as part of their high school innovation grant. A lot of time and energy has gone into this. I just wanted to recognize some of the teachers that have been working on this project. So we have Mr. Culver, CT teacher. Ms. Knapp has been helping us from the gifted angle. And then we have our 3 committee chairs. Ms. Simmons has helped with the interdisciplinary curriculum, and Ms. Line, our English teacher, has helped with personalized learning committee, and Ms. Radford has helped with the career pathways. So I'll talk more about that a little bit. Also wanted to recognize Jonathan Schultz, who helped write the proposal with us. And so wanted to share an update on where we are and the exciting things that we're planning for the fall. So to start, just a summary of what is Bruin Academy. So the innovation grant was really wide open as far as what could you propose to the state, how could you improve education. And so I recognize some teachers here. Really, there's 30 teachers on the team that have really been working on this project. So we have restructured the first 2 years of high school. Our vision was for a group of 25 to 50 students. Weren't sure how many we were going to be able to recruit, but that was our goal. As of now, we have 37 students that have signed up for the pilot in the fall, so we're very excited about that number. So it's kind of a school within a school that will alternate, there'll be an alternate bell schedule for half of the day, and then re-enter the traditional bell schedule for the afternoon, and I'll show you some more specifics in a second. But some of the major elements are that we've created some interdisciplinary courses. We've meshed together content areas. Those classes will be co-taught. They would be project-based, hands-on, and with an emphasis on personalized learning. We have talked about having students do year-long personalized projects that would be even in addition to or in cooperation with some of these classes, and really giving student choice and voice in what they study and how they demonstrate their learning. And so that's kind of all the content, but then we also wanted to make it something bigger. So focusing on the 5 C's, the soft skills that kids need to have to be successful, not only in school but in life, and the 16 habits of mind, which I have a visual for that. This was part of a book that we read called Students at the Center. And these are 16, research has shown that these 16 habits or dispositions have proven to be successful not only in learning, but in not only in achievement, but in how you learn, how you approach learning. So there's 16, and we've thought about there being 4 semesters in Bruin Academy, that we would tackle 4 each semester, and that we would directly teach these to kids as they come in. Persisting, I know it's probably hard to see all that, but persisting, creating, imagining, innovating, thinking flexibly, just to name a few of how we can show kids some skills that would not normally be directly taught. So we're going to incorporate these into the program as well. And then the overarching themes of the Academy are going to be live, think, create, serve. So that was kind of designed as, if you think of it almost as a progression. So kids in their freshman and sophomore years will focus on live and think. So live, focusing on identity, not only individually but as collectively, as humanity, and then and how to coexist with people, and then how to think creatively, how to analyze data, and then moving forward into how do you take that knowledge and skill and actually produce something? How do you create a business? How do you create a product? And then how do you use that knowledge and skills to actually serve and make a difference around you? So again, the content piece is exciting in itself, but some of these larger ideas, I think, really is exciting that we can make it more than just about the content. So this was a flyer that was created by our art teacher, Katie Hypes, and it was part of the invitation that we extended to current 8th grade students. And then this was a student-created logo that also worked with Ms. Hypes and Ms. Showalter, our graphics teacher. So we can envision this being on a T-shirt and other things that we create to give this Bruin Academy a sense of identity. So really exciting things to share there. So getting a little bit more into the structure of what this would look like. So again, this represents what half of a student's day would be in 9th grade with this incoming class. So the courses would be English and world history combined together, environmental science combined with health and PE, and then Algebra 1, we decided to leave it standalone, not pair with another course, but of course all 5 of these courses would be under those themes and habits of mind, so that they would be co-planned together. And then, so this would be the pilot year for 9th graders, and then moving beyond that cohort as they move into 10th grade, this is what we envisioned the courses looking like: Earth Science with English 10, Principles of Technology with World History 2, and the math class AFTA combined with Economics and Personal Finance. I'm going to go back a slide real quick. So The other thing to point out is that normally kids in the same time slot, kids would have an opportunity to earn 4 credits. So in the freshman year, they can earn 5 in the time that they would normally take to earn 4. And in the sophomore year, they would have an opportunity to earn 6. So there's 3 extra credits built into the program, which allows them to accrue graduation requirements more quickly, and then opens up their schedule for exciting opportunities that the division's already doing and that we're doing as part of the grant as well through career pathways later on in high school. So backing up just a little bit, here's our timeline of how we found out about the grant, how we intended to submit, when the proposal was submitted, and when we found out that we were one of 5 schools in Virginia to be awarded. So this is backing up to last spring. And just some other background on the innovation grant in general. This is the 4th year that the state has offered it. Every year they award 5 schools. So there's a list of previous winners up there. And then I think the last bullet is the most exciting to think about. So hopefully we'll be in that boat as well. Every school that has won, this is the planning grant, and every school has won additional second-year funds. So we're hoping that we will be in that same boat. We'll start that application process in April. So as we've gone along, the 30 teachers were divided up into 3 teams. 2 of the 3 really focusing on Bruin Academy, which is the bulk of what I'm talking about tonight, and then a 3rd team focusing on career pathways for upperclassmen. So each team had a different emphasis, and led by our fantastic chairman behind us. And as the teams went through this process, we did professional learning both in the large group and in small groups. So some of those are listed on the screen here. Everyone read the book Students at the Center, which focused on personalized learning and the 16 Habits of Mind. We also ordered for one of the committees the project-based learning starter kit, which is more of a practical guide for how do you implement that kind of instruction. We had a workshop last week for the early release where we had a guest speaker come in and talk about more PBL resources. Ms. Naff helped organize that. And then we had 3 visits to school divisions in the state that are doing similar things, not exactly what we're proposing, but different elements. So Albemarle had kind of the interdisciplinary courses, Loudoun had more of the personalized learning, and Magna Vista really probably is the closest to what we're trying to build. So I have a couple pictures of that, Albemarle Tech. This was a unique site where it was a alternate location for students to go. It was not a home school, so students from all over the county came, worked on passion projects. It was kind of a large warehouse where they came and worked on whatever they were passionate about. So this is a good time to point out Doug Wickham. Left him out. Where's Doug Wickham? I left him out because the reason I thought about him is the passion project. He's really helping work on that element of it. So this was really emphasized at Albemarle Tech, where students could come in and work on graduation requirements in a unique way based on something that they really wanted to study. This is the Environmental Science Academy at Western Albemarle High School. That's a separate building that's across the parking lot from the high school. So on the right is greenhouse, and on the left is a classroom. So they taught environmental science combined with English 11. And then behind the building is a garden, which the students worked in. And so that sparked a lot of ideas for our team. This is the group at Heritage High School in Loudoun County. So we visited Cedar Ridge Middle and Heritage High. They did a lot of things with personalized learning. So when we went in their classrooms, each of the students was kind of working at their own pace. They had playlists. It wasn't the traditional type of instruction. They used a lot of technology, so we gained a lot from that visit. And then I think the most impactful was Warrior Tech. So this is in Henry County at Magna Vista High School. A couple of things, the space itself was pretty unique in the way they have designed it, separate from the rest of the school. It had its kind of own identity. And then I think really the team enjoyed interacting with the students. This is just the students that are in this picture, they just kind of volunteered and came out and talked to us, but they also had a student panel and they talked about their experiences and how it really benefited them, how they were skeptical at first because it was a different type of learning, but they really are glad that they're in the program. So they teach a lot of the interdisciplinary courses as well that we're hoping to kind of emulate. So why do something different at Blacksburg High School and MCPS that where we do pretty well, as we've shared tonight. But I think the state recognizes, and probably everyone here recognizes, that our system's a little outdated. So this quote from Secretary Duncan kind of illustrates that. And I think that's the impetus behind the grant, is that the state wants people to innovate and build something new and then share out. So I think that it's time to think ahead and to think, how do we prepare students for 21st century jobs and jobs that might not even exist yet. Here are some of our goals for the grant: to increase engagement levels for students, to increase the number of credits that freshmen can earn that will then provide for flexible scheduling later in high school, to increase the perception in the community that we're preparing students well for after high school, to increase achievement levels, and then to increase the number of hours that students spend actually outside the building getting real-world experiences. And I think that our goals align. I just pulled a few goals off the MCPS 6-year plan that I think there's probably more, but these are the ones that most directly align to what we're trying to accomplish through this program. I just wanted to share a little bit about the process by which we invited students. So I went to Blacksburg Middle School in December and invited 45 students to this presentation, gave them the flyer, and invited them to participate in a survey, which I'll show some of the results here in a second, and just kind of told them a little bit about some of what I shared with you and tried to get them excited about what we were offering. The next week, well, actually 2 weeks because of snow, invited parents to come and similar presentation, but then have some extended Q&A time. And at that time, the parents were given applications, and so they were invited to apply. And like I said, we have 37 out of the 50 have agreed to enter the program in the fall. So asked students, middle school students, several questions, one of which was, what would you change about your high school experience? So that's the graph on the left. So 40% said more time to learn about topics that relate to me in my future, and 42% said more choice in what I learn about. So that's definitely an element of the personalization that we talked about earlier. And then the second question was just something simple as, what do you prefer to do? Take traditional quizzes and tests, create projects, or create and give presentations. And 62% say create projects. So that highlights, we kind of already knew that that's what students would be interested in, but this kind of confirms that they want project-based and they want more freedom in what they do and how they demonstrate their learning. So just some next steps and what we're looking for for the rest of the year. And more professional development in the areas of personalization, project-based learning. This is going to be new and different for a lot of people, and we got to make sure we're following best practices and really trying to do what research says is most effective. We're going to continue curriculum writing. We're going to continue figuring out how to work in these major themes. We have to figure out where in the building would be the most effective place to house Bruin Academy. And actually, at the time I made this PowerPoint, it said developing logo. Well, obviously the student has done that, so we're checking off items on this list. And then further development and implementation of career pathways. We're hoping that the year 2 grant will have a heavier emphasis on that portion, if we are awarded year 2. And then this last slide just demonstrates how really Bruin Academy and career pathways are meant to complement one another. And so the very top row illustrates kind of what the ideal might be for a student to enter as a freshman, do 2 years through the Bruin Academy, and then enter a career pathway in 11th grade, and then move on to college or the workforce. But they don't have to participate in both. So a student could enter Bruin Academy and after 2 years kind of go back into traditional high school. And then the third row says you don't have to be in the Bruin Academy to enter a pathway, and just shows how it's meant to be a flexible experience for kids, depending on where they are. So at this time, I would like to open it up for any questions.
Let me start by making some comments here. First of all, I'm just really, really excited about this. I don't know if some of the board members remember, but a couple of years ago at VSBA, Some of you watched with me the documentary on Most Likely to Succeed.
Yeah.
And this is what it's about. You know, and then also, I don't think it was BSBA, I think it was another principals conference. A few years ago, I got to listen to some students from Warrior Tech Academy at Magna Vista High School. Their experience was totally different, but definitely relevant. And, you know, something that we've continued to do for so long is teach in a model that was developed in the 19th century. And we teach so many courses in isolation. And that is not how the world works. And when I heard that Blacksburg High School was going to apply for this grant, I was just so excited because I knew of other schools who had done the same thing. But it's reinventing the experience for high school. What does it look like? How can we make it relevant, you know, to the world? Showing how courses are connected. And you know, I appreciate these folks have spent a lot of time and hours, and a lot of thought has gone into this. And this is extra stuff. They also teach and work hard in their job every day. This is one more thing they did, but they did it because they know it's what's best for kids in schools. You know, this is what I see as learning for the future and what we need to be looking at for the future, and make it as much world-like as possible, and then connecting to our work-based learning programs and internships, it's just pretty remarkable. So thank you for your leadership. Thank you, folks, for your leadership. I'm excited as we move forward and look at how we're going to make this something great, which I know we will.
It's exciting.
Awesome. Questions? So on the courses, I don't know what number slide I'm on here, but where you have the kind of the structure and you're showing us the different courses, are those fixed, or will there be like more than, you know, one elective in certain spots on the, like the one that stood out to me was Algebra 1. Like, what if you have a kid that wants to do Bruin Academy, but they've already taken Algebra 1 in middle school or something like that?
All right, so talk about who is the kid?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so you pinpointed math as I'm a former math teacher here, so we understood, first of all, we feel like this experience would be good for all kids. But we realized if we're going to offer kind of a cohort type model where we're co-planning and co-teaching and we want to be cohesive, freshmen have common needs. Math is varied. There are kids in Algebra 2, Geometry, Algebra 1, and so on. And so we kind of had to make a decision about what type of, which math course are we going to focus on. So what we did is we focused on Algebra 1, which means we invited students who are currently in Math 8 at the middle school. So students who are not in Algebra 1 and not currently enrolled in Earth Science. So that was kind of our starting point with who we reached out to first.
Is the idea that should this grow and be successful, that then you would have more of like options and things like that? So
yeah, we're definitely open to expanding it.
Okay. Cool.
We also felt that where is a group of kids that maybe is traditionally underserved? So we have a lot of programs for students who struggle, at-risk students. I think we serve the higher end AP track students very well, and this kind of targets a population who's maybe middle of the road that could use a boost and they could benefit from the program.
Oh, yeah, it's exciting. I don't have a question, but I was just going to say, you know, one of the things that I like about it, I know it's completely different than a governor's school type setup, but the thing I like about it, there's so many students that if they're involved in sports, because governor schools are located to where you have to travel. I know with my boys, they wouldn't do it, even though they were invited, because they had to get up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to get to Pulaski to do the governor's school. But for those students who may want to branch out and do a little something different, this being on site, whether it's a governor's school or a special needs, or it's just a child that may say, hey, I think I like just doing something a little different, and I'm able to do it because it's right there. So, good deal.
Thank you.
And do you see this as a possible pilot for other high schools as well, to do something similar?
Sure, I think so. I mean, we tried to build it with existing staffing, with existing courses, you know, that we teach, and so it's just kind of a restructuring of that. So I could see it being replicated, definitely.
And that's something definitely to think about as we move forward with even Christiansburg
You're
High
saying
School, because
about a space.
The new,
yeah, one challenge is space,
Yeah.
and what they've done at Magna Vista, they've created a space.
They
just
renovated
for it.
their
They renovated-
library.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did an actual
We
renovation,
have to
so.
put that in while we are.
Yeah, so it's definitely, but you know, I think space goes beyond a special program as we see here. I think space needs to be rethought just in general
In
as
general,
we
yes.
move
Yeah.
forward with education
Yeah.
and what that looks like. And so, yeah.
Well, I mean, all the conferences we go to, they talk about the flexibility of
Yeah.
space. And I
Yes.
think, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want it so flexible that there are no walls.
We don't want to go that far again.
Yeah. At least something in between, maybe, yeah. But no, you know, of course, Blacksburg High School, there was thought that went into that. I mean, you look at some of the spaces for students outside the classrooms.
For the collaboration and
In the
stuff.
collaboration
Collaboration
areas,
space,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
And I see it being used all the time, so.
and I'm interested to kind of piggyback on what you're saying. This could be a model for other high schools. Also, that the things that we learn and the things that we do in rethinking education can also be a model to apply to other classes that are outside of the Bruin Academy or these academies within the school building. I'm especially interested in seeing how things go in, you know, doing, you know, like putting English and world history together. I went to a high school that was experimental, and they did that. That was one of the first things that I noticed was something different, and you know, and it's interesting. It was supposed to be a science and tech high school, but I think kind of some of the biggest things I got from it came out of and they relabeled them humanities, right? So, and sometimes you would have a whole block of English, sometimes you would have a whole block of history, and then other times the two teachers would come together and you'd really get a lot of, you know, kind of cross-learning and stuff like that. So I'm really interested in hearing back from the teachers on, because you guys have been designing the courses and stuff, and hopefully it's fun and it's exciting, but I'd love to hear back from you guys on you know, how that has gone.
It's a good point too, because 30 teachers are on the committee and 5 will be actually teaching in the fall. So hope is that a lot of these ideas just kind of naturally spread throughout the building. So
That'd be awesome.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Excited.
Exciting.
Yes. Thanks. All right, next, we have Dempsey Warner here to share information from a study conducted by the League of Women Voters. I'd like to welcome you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. With all this excitement, I'm ready to go back to school. I think that, well, anyway, my name is Wayne Warner. I'm a resident of Montgomery County. I've lived here 50 years now. Our 3 children went to the schools in Montgomery County and graduated. I've been in education for 60 years, serving as a public school administrator, college professor, department head, dean, and honestly, in a time long ago, in a place far away, I was a school superintendent. My connection with your school system has been over these many years and has included a lot of different things, including one superintendent search, 3 or 4 school board retreats, 2 climate surveys, and a study in 2003 on the quality of schools in Montgomery County. Been a lot of changes. And as I listened to the presentations about virtual reality, and as I listened to this wonderful program, and by the way, Benjamin Bloom, who talked about higher level thinking years ago, will be so proud. I have no idea what kind of impact it's going to have on our low-level cognitive tests that we use for performance measures, but I know these kids will do well no matter what they're doing. Anyway, I'm here tonight to share information about the League of Women Voters study on financing schools in Montgomery County, which at this time of the year is always a very hot topic. You have two documents that I shared with you that describe the study. Actually, the first one talks about the four components, and the second one is a draft of what I think will be the final report. Sometimes it's easier to look at the end and figure out where this is supposed to go. But very briefly, the four components of the study, and it's well underway, have to do with state funding. And I think we all know about state funding. We know about the magical numbers that get used while, for example, where 5% really is more like 1.2% in terms of the money you're going to get. The fact that the standards of quality are set so low and the funding is based on those standards that and standards and funding that not a single school division in this state recognizes, because they all spend more, and half of the school systems in this state spend twice as much as is required by the standards of quality. Well, anyway, that's a part of the study. We're looking at that. We are disgruntled and not very optimistic about what's happening. We're looking at local funding over a 10-year period and looking at what I call the requests.
Oh, no, not again.
Time to leave?
Yep. Yeah. Last time it was false thing, but we'll see. Hold on for a second till we get thumbs up.
Large crickets.
This exact thing happened.
Proceed.
Yeah.
Looks like we're okay.
I have an electric personality. Anyway, the state, looking at the local funding, and that's a particularly difficult thing to, not to get the numbers, but to sort through the responsibilities. As you all know, that the school board's responsibility is to identify the needs of the system and present a budget that reflects those needs. The Board of Supervisors is supposed to fund those needs. Always the rub is what is a want and what is a need. And so that's where the discussion ends up. So anyway, we'll be looking at that over the past, and what we will conclude after this year's deliberations, I don't know, but that'll be included in the report. The other thing that's kind of a collateral interest, particularly of the Board of Supervisors, and it has to do with the fact that 1/3 of all of the property in this county is not taxed, or taxed at a very low level. Now that does a couple of things. It moves the responsibility for paying taxes onto a smaller group of people, and whether or not that makes a difference in the way that the state formula works is really not clear. From an institutional university point of view, for example, they would argue that, well, we hire really wealthy people, not wealthy people, but high-paid people. They buy big houses, and so that offsets this property tax or property non-tax. And we have lots and lots of students who live in taxed apartments but don't really have any kids in the schools. Now that's what makes it dicey trying to figure out that impact on the formula. So, but anyway, it's a side issue, and we're looking at that as well. The fourth issue, and it's become more of a concern lately, and it has to do with what I call internal equity, or the extent to which all kids in Montgomery County have the same opportunities. And again, that's we can count up the number of students per counselor, this average salary of teachers, and a variety of those things. But the whole issue of facilities has really come now on the scene, and I hadn't even thought about that as a big issue at the beginning. But we may have to pick that up as we go. But so those are the four components that we're looking at. Just to give you an update on the progress. We've collected information. I've given you 5 additional sheets of information tonight, which don't require any study. It's just kind of interesting to me. The 3 of them are JLARC reports out of our own Virginia, pointing out that Virginia, in terms of per capita income, ranks 11th in the nation. Virginia, in terms of state funding of schools, ranks 42nd, just behind Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia. So we have pretty well identified that we've got a problem with our state funding, and a major problem. So I've given you that. The other thing that you have is a little well, the third piece is actually teacher salary, and I'm sure you've seen information about that. The fourth one has to do with some work that's been done by the Institute for Fiscal Analysis. Those data are old, they're not entirely accurate, but in the main, they point out that state funding over the 10-year period has actually declined. And interestingly enough, the local share has been picked up, but not enough to fill in the gaps, obviously. So you have that, and then you have the last thing, which is a little comparison, trying to do some comparisons with what I call comparable districts. And these just look at number of students, the amount of money that can be raised with a penny tax, and so on and so forth. So just to give you an idea, we've had some discussion about whether these districts are really comparable. More or less, most of them are for one reason or another: size, impact of universities, demographics, whatever. So those are the kinds of data that we're looking at, and they just represent a few of the pieces. We have determined that this study, which we had hoped might be completed this spring, first of all, we got a timing problem. League studies must be completed and distributed to the members a month before their before their annual meeting, which in this case is the 1st of May. We don't want to try to finish this study in the next 30 days because there are too many unknowns and too many things going on. So we're going to keep working at it, and we will shoot for releasing the study in the fall when perhaps there's not as much focus on the immediate problems of budget. Maybe there'll be some resolution, or at least some what I would call best of the worst options for housing students. Anyway, get some of that out of the way, because what the league really wants to do is not to solve these problems, but bring them to the attention of the public. We really want to provide information. So that's where we are on the thing. The study fundamentally looks at issues related to adequacy. Is there enough money? Capacity. Could we spend more? Could we get more? And equity. How is it distributed? And and we're also dealing with the question of, or the observation that equal isn't always equitable. So, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them. Other than that, I'm just going to go about our work.
Thank you. Any questions, board members?
Any questions? I look forward to the answer.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just a comment, talking about the diciness of the, with college and the taxes, and that they're being, when we were building Blacksburg High School, I remember us getting, I don't know if anybody else was on the board at the time other than Penny, she's not here, But we got a letter from the administration encouraging us to have the best schools in the area so they can, get the best professors and the things like that to the college. So it's kind of funny how that,
I
comes
was
back.
sitting in that meeting. It was
Exactly.
from Dr. Steger. He
Right.
wrote it in.
So it's just funny how all the excuses are made to not help, but yet the expectations is there to have it to help them recruit the best. So I think if maybe that mindset could change and they could open their eyes a little bit and see, if you want this, you've got to help pay for it.
Yeah. Well, the whole intermix of economic development and who pays for what and what services are involved. Again, as I said, I'm not sure it makes much difference. First of all, the state formula and the distribution of funds is so inadequate. When people start talking about needing to change the formula, I said, if there's not enough pie to go around, it doesn't make any difference how you slice it.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, that is really a fundamental problem. And then when we get to the local problem, again, I think the Board of Supervisors in particular, I mean, Blacksburg, 50% of Blacksburg's property is not taxed.
That's right.
And in the county, it's 1/3, so.
Right.
So at what point does expensive houses and high incomes, because those are both factors in the state formula. So at what point does that offset the, so anyway, it's a challenge to work through that. But anyway, thank you for your time, and we'll keep you posted.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you so much. All right. Next, textbook adoption for math. As part of our annual textbook review process, we recommended math textbooks for grades K through 5. Textbooks would be purchased as funds become available. We'll ask you to approve these textbooks at the April 2nd meeting. Any questions?
I take it those are the ones on the table back there.
Yes. And then you can go online actually with Virginia Go Math and play around with all those books. They're really cool. They give you a little access to check the chapters and see the,
Is this Go Math new for us, or is this
Is it a new
update, or-
program or just new textbooks in the same program we've been, in my day, it was everyday math.
Would you like to come up and, please come up and
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
share?
It is actually published by the same publisher that our current adoption is for K-5, but it's they've gone in a different direction. So it's one of the 2 programs that the Board of Education has approved as saying it meets the standards for K-5. And we actually adopted the HMH Go Math for middle school last year.
So that's actually a good question to ask, because we didn't have this with everyday math, was the transition from K through 6.
K through 5.
I'm sorry, K through 5 to middle schools. There was it just dropped off.
Yeah.
And that made everyday math even worse because there was no transition.
Right.
And so it's good that they have that, but I am really, really, really concerned if it's anything like everyday math.
It's a program that is very well aligned to our Virginia standards, and it's aligned to what they're doing in 6 through 8. So I think it'll make a seamless transition for the students, K through 8.
Yeah, because I know both of our daughters are still suffering the consequences of everyday math. Yeah.
Was
Any other
there any,
questions?
as far as the committee that was looking through these, and I'm sure there were teachers, and I mean, was there strong support for one over the other? Was the decision more split? Was it?
The 2 programs that the state had approved are actually very similar.
Okay.
And our primary grades, K through 2, were pretty unanimous in wanting the Go Math.
Okay.
Our upper elementary were a little bit more split, but they felt like each program had various strengths and areas that they felt like they would supplement, and felt they were pretty equitable.
Okay.
And so they supported the Go Math as well.
Okay. Thank
And point Mr. Chewbacca made when we were standing back there. We hear a lot now about online textbooks, like Chromebooks, but obviously those are workbooks, one-time use. Math always has been. I assume we're still going that way for that reason, because the student still needs a book they can actually write in and work in when it comes to doing math.
We find that that's very helpful for the students, but all of the materials that are back there are also available online, so they can access those resources from home with hotspots, or we have a downloadable player that they don't even need to have internet access to be able to access the features. And so they have a lot of interactive, they can check their work as they go, they can get personal online tutors, they have videos that they can watch and interactive examples.
So that always raises the question of what about our kids who don't have that access?
Right, and that's why the downloadable player, they don't require internet access. They can download before they leave, and then it's all available to them at home, and then when they come back, they'll automatically
onto
upload.
what?
Pardon me?
Downloaded onto what?
Oh, on their Chromebooks.
But that's only 5th grade, correct?
That have them to take home?
Yeah.
But that's why we also have the printed materials, so that way they have all
That's
the
what I'm
examples.
getting at.
Yes.
Thank you. Kind of have to still have that printed material, and especially in those lower grades, because we don't have the one-to-one.
Sure.
And they still need the hands-on. And then the other
Absolutely.
question that I had was, I noticed it says Virginia Standards of Learning. Do we pay more for textbooks because we have a unique one-state curriculum? We're not Common Core, therefore we don't get to share those textbooks. So, there's always the quote R&D that goes into these kinds of things, of developing a textbook for a specific set of standards. I know there's a lot of overlap between Common Core and SOLs, but they're not exactly the same. Do we? Just curious.
I don't know what their cost is for the Common Core. I can look that up and see if it's a big difference. Both of the two programs were they're very cost equivalent. There wasn't a tremendous amount of difference, but the HMH Go Math put a lot of time into looking at our curriculum frameworks and trying to make sure that what their materials lacked in our curriculum frameworks, they supplemented through a Virginia SOL Success Book for our students, which will hopefully fill in some of those gaps from the Common Core, because like you said, they do write the textbooks for a nation, and then they try to adapt them as best they can for Virginia standards.
And I'm not saying I support Common Core, I'm just asking.
Right, absolutely. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, a little bit that I played around online, it was a little better than Everyday Math. I remember Everyday Math too.
Lattice method?
That was strange.
All right. So next, just a quick budget update. Some has been talked about already tonight. Mr. Meadows, our county administrator, presented his proposed budget last night. The budget included $3 million in additional funding for the school's operating budget. It also included an additional $0.015 to go into the school capital fund. Our finance folks were working hard this morning to crunch numbers and look at that. We will, at the joint meeting, I will still present your presentation, but in your budget. There'll be 2 presentations, the budget and then the capital budget. Well, what's happened here is they have sort of put some of this together in some ways. Mr. Krantz has been working, and we've been talking to Mr. Meadows about the possibility of being able to finance our projects and how we can actually do that. And we think we've come up with an ability to finance our projects even without possibly PPEA, without the additional $0.015. What we need, that $0.015 is about $1.2 million. And so the total then will be $4.2 million. What we need that $0.015 in the operational budget, not in the capital budget, because I think we are set for the capital budget. So what I'm hoping is that if we can show we can finance the needed projects, CPS, CES, Bellevue, Christiansburg High School, and we even have it timed out for Harding, Beeks, and Gilbert-Lincoln in a sort of a plan and how it can actually be financed without this. What we're hoping for is that the Board of Supervisors will then realize that the best use of this money is an operational budget, because you've heard Mr. Chilcote talk about tonight, you know, the need for the salary increases. That is definitely important to be competitive. And so, so we will make some of these points at our joint meeting by April 4th. I'll come back to you with a proposal as to what, you know, and where we
April
think.
2nd.
Excuse me?
April 2nd. I think the 4th is.
I don't know why I keep saying the 4th. I'm sorry. April, I said 4th to you today. I'm
my
sorry.
birthday.
Maybe I'm thinking about your birthday. Yeah. April 2nd.
I'm not going to be here. It's not my birthday.
Okay. Well, April 2nd, we will we'll bring back our proposal. Hopefully by then we'll have some numbers, and we'll be talking to Mr. Meadows and his team, and also Davenport, their financial advisors. In fact, Mr. Meadows told me today that he was going to bring in Davenport possibly for a meeting we're going to have next week to lay out, to make sure we're in line with what we think we can do. And so, that's what we're hoping. So we will have a meeting, a joint meeting, and then we'll talk about the capital projects also at that joint meeting. Then April 2nd, I'll come back to you with where I think we're headed. And so,
It's going to be difficult to have a conversation. I think we can have a conversation about the operational budget, but it's going to be difficult to have a talk with the Board of Supervisors about capital if we haven't had a chance to see your proposals or
it's
process.
not, well,
that,
you
right?
gotta, yeah, here's the thing, you gotta understand that actually we're coming up with a way to pay for it, and it's not really our job.
Right.
It's the Board of Supervisors' job to come up with a way to pay for it.
Sure.
We're just assisting.
I'm okay.
To
You're
help with that. Yeah, I mean,
Hurrying it along.
we really are. I mean, we're doing the work to actually come up with that plan. And so, you know, at the end of the day, of course, you know, I've given you a couple options as to what to do in Christiansburg with elementary schools specifically. But at the end of the day, we still need that money and need to be able to finance whatever we decide to do.
Exactly.
And so, and you know, I appreciate Mr. Cranston, his knowledge to be able to do this. And you know, he's been busy on his whiteboard in his office going to town.
Well, I'm not even suggesting that you know, you got to come up with that before the meeting. I guess I'm just maybe, I don't know if maybe we need to set expectation, you know, level set some expectations for the talks that we're going to have with the Board of Supervisors at the next meeting. I'm just saying it'll be difficult to talk about something that I haven't had a chance to either see or process, right?
I hope not in some ways, because I think it's going to be easier than we thought. I think we figured out a way for actual traditional financing, because there's money available now. I mean, to start projects and to get moving.
So what we're really going to talk about is the mechanism, not the actual, we're
Right.
spending this on this and this on this and this on this.
Right,
The mechanism.
right, so we're going to present to you a financial plan, but this board will not approve a financial plan for those projects. The Board of Supervisors will actually approve a financial plan. You all will approve the projects,
Right.
okay?
That's not-
And with those projects, there will be a number with those projects. And so we will say, yes, we want to renovate the current elementary schools, increase capacity, and then do CHS renovate, and that will come with a price tag. And then we will go with that in the price tag to the Board of Supervisors, and let's get started. But what we're doing by working with Mr. Meadows and his team is we need to be moving together. You know,
So
from
you're
our
envisioning this as a discussion between the two boards about how we do that and how they can support us to do that financially.
Right,
essentially.
exactly. I mean, we're going to basically educate the Board of Supervisors
Right.
on some options they have in financing these projects. And so, and we'll probably have more than one option, but, you know, we're going to have some options that I truly believe will not cause us to have to use the penny and a half for capital, that we can then use for operational. That's why this important. This is so important, because it is a matter of time now, since the money has been proposed in this way for us to be funded. We've sort of been backed in a corner in a way to show them how we don't need it like this in terms of capital. We need it in terms of operational. And so
Their public hearing is next Monday, and then they are voting right afterwards on what they're going to advertise as the tax rate and the budget. So if something you want to go talk about next Monday night is when you got to go. I mean, it's that fat. They literally got it last night, and they have 1 week to digest it and
I don't think it should be like that.
advertise next week, which is shorter than I've ever seen them do in
March 11th,
before.
yeah, basically the next.
And
I'm not sure why that is, just how the dates fell or what. Sorry, but that's how it worked out.
The other part of the education is some of the Board of Supervisors have a mindset that we absolutely cannot do anything until 2023. And that's not the case, because every year we reduce our debt. And so we do have borrowing power.
Mr. Kranz, come on up and talk a little bit more and educate our folks. And I think, too, it's about us coming up with a plan, and then it's not just educating the board, but it's educating the Christiansburg community. And letting the folks know in Christiansburg exactly what can be done now, because we have been told that nothing could be done by some folks by 23, but in reality, that is not what's being said now. I've been told that we can pretty much break ground soon on some projects, because we've got the money. You'd like to explain?
So if you look at the Davenport report they did on December 17th, and this is countywide debt, the county will be freeing up this fiscal year $16 million, so they can reborrow that $16 million. They have about $1 million in 2020. They're right at about $6 million in 2021, or 6 to 12 million. It's been a while since I looked at the numbers. They get to $72.2 million in 5 years, which half of that, 36 million of it, coming free in 2023. So the intent would be, and everything's tied to a timing and a cash flow perspective here. So in elementary school, we can do in 20 to 24 months from the beginning of, and that's talking to major contractors here in the state of Virginia who built schools, large projects. This is nothing for them.
What do you mean when you say you can do an elementary school? Build
beginning
new or rent?
Starting, we can do either. Okay, now we're looking at a renovation.
Okay.
And so, but you could do either in the 20 to 24 months. So the timing issue, we could start today. It's just when will we be at a point that we'll be paying our bills? And we've scheduled that out, and we believe that if we started right now or in the next 60 to 90 days, let's say, that we would be open for FY22 school year with no problems. And that's in looking at the elementary proposals we've talked about in previous meetings.
Because we could afford the elementary now.
Correct. The high school is going to be not a challenge, but it's a much bigger project. It's going to have logistical issues as we're moving students around and we're building and everything else we're going to be doing. And that project will take, if everything ran well, 36 months.
That's the construction of the project.
Right, and the design's going to be at least 12 months.
Right. So the design really backs up into, if we did this in our current project, or the elementary projects, which really would be only 2 years out that you actually start the design process.
Right.
By the time we start,
it'd be really FY22, do the design, start the design work, and then as we finish the elementary, we're right into the middle of the high school.
It wouldn't be until about 25 that we would be done with that, correct?
Yes, sir.
And we would have enough by then of debt.
Yeah, because their capacity goes to $22 million in 24, $22 million in '25, and then $23 million in '26.
So we would have enough debt capacity by '25 to then finish the Christiansburg High School project. And then we looked even further through '26, '27, and '28.
Where we could be doing the
We could be-
Harding,
we
the
could be-
Beaks, the other schools that have challenges
Right,
and issues
exact
with
same
it.
thing, probably using the same types of models. And that's when they have a lot of debt capacity.
In
That
10
is-
years, it's $172 million total.
Yeah.
That's total from now until 10 years out.
Correct.
Now, not to be the party pooper here, but I do know the county has their own list
I
of
was about to
projects
say,
they want to
yes.
do. So I don't see them giving us all of their debt capacity.
And it wouldn't be,
Okay.
because we have some other options and thoughts.
Right, I
That
mean-
we'll discuss as well.
Right.
Okay, so that's already, you're
That's
thinking
all
about that,
part of this
you're factoring that
All
into.
part of this, how we can, and
Okay.
talk about, because, you got to remember, right now, the way we're getting money is we're getting 2 cents of the revenue a year from the real estate tax, right? And so, there's a possibility that we can use that for debt service. Basically what we're doing right now is we're using that money and saving up to buy something. Like, it'd be like saving, I'm saving up to buy a car.
Right.
And I'm not going to buy it till I get all the cash to buy it in 3 years. Well, I got to go to work right now and drive myself to work. So instead of saving the money and paying cash, we can use that. We can use part of that money that's being already set aside to pay the debt service right now. Instead of taking that, and it's going to be even more. It's going to be closer to about 1.8 million
Correct.
a year now. So using that money to go into these projects that's already being given to us.
Just like we did Palm Branch.
Well, in Falling Branch, we actually had saved that money.
Well, yeah, I mean, we just
and
won't
then
have
paid
that
cash
long.
for it.
Right.
This is sort of using that money to pay off the loan,
Gotcha.
up front, as opposed to us saying, okay, we're going to wait 3 or 4 years to save the $10 million
Right.
for one of the projects.
I see what you're saying.
We can buy that loan, sooner. And so that's,
Is the Board of Supervisors open to that idea?
That's
Or do we
what we're
know?
going to ask.
That's what we're going to find out.
I hope so.
Sir.
Let me say this, but you might be able, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
I see no rational idea why it would not be feasible. Am I missing a rational idea?
No, sir, and
Okay.
we've done the analysis. I mean, I've done billion dollar plus transactions. And so I know exactly the analysis that they have to do. And so when we've worked on this, we've kind of worn two hats. The hat of the school system and what our needs are, but also the hat of, if I'm on the county side in making that recommendation to proceed with the debt issue, how would it be structured, work that makes the most economical sense for them? But you've got two competing bodies. Okay? And there is, and the thing that we all need to understand is that as CES and CPS continue to grow, both of those schools and all the studies that have been done over time, and I've read them all, the one thing that was in every one of those reports was CES and CPS were needed to be done. They were identified from the get-go. They're sitting there in red in every one of the reports. The challenges there are going to continue to grow. If you saw when we did the modernization study, we had the pipe that's falling apart underneath their building. It's a plumbing pipe. It's not getting any better under there. And so all of a sudden we're going to be faced with, or you as a board are going to be faced with, what capital dollars do I invest in there and what's the return I'm going to get? Because the capital dollars you spend is basically 20-year money. So you're making a 20-year decision. And CPS and CES right now need at least 16 modular units. Those modular units are $250,000 a year rent. To bring them in and make the connections, we're looking at between $500,000 to $750,000, one-time money. To fix the situation we have with traffic, we're looking at $1 million plus. And once that's done, it's gone for 20 years. But that's the challenge that you as a school board and as the administration face, and the clock's ticking. The enrollment continues to grow, but then CHS is getting ready to blow up. It's going to blow up because their capacity is off the charts today. And I've seen, as Ms. Parton said, the rooms, and that wouldn't have been acceptable. And when I was in Richmond, which is considered to have some of the worst buildings in the entire Commonwealth, what CHS has is far worse than what I had in Richmond.
Yes, sir.
Just wouldn't be accepted. And that school's going to grow. So now I start bringing in modulars by the boatload. I'm going to start taking parking lots because there's no other place to go. That's what's getting ready to happen soon. And you saw Harding, we're doing the 4. That's going to change that landscape of that school because it's already reached, we can't go any more further at that school. But we have it at other ones. Price is forked from what I know and I've seen coming across on developments. That one's getting ready to explode on us. So it's not just going to be this. This is going to be an ongoing situation that we're going to have.
And I think we understand that pretty well. What I would like to understand more as we move forward is, I do want to understand, some of the different financing options that we're looking at, especially if we're going to present them to the Board of Supervisors as something that is, an option for us. I'd like to see it.
Well, you've got to understand, it's really not us presenting it. Right. It's not us presenting it. It's us. We're developing a plan with Mr. Meadows and his team. Technically, it's going to be Mr. Meadows presenting the financing plan. Yeah, because we're going to be meeting prior to that and coming up with it.
It's a joint effort.
It is. It really is a joint effort. But
It is.
at the end of the day, it's
theirs.
It's theirs. They own that piece.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think what I will,
So the best time is really to present it together as a joint, as both.
And they will be seeing it for the first time, too.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's true.
I mean, if nothing will get out of that joint meeting, I think we have to, at least personally, I would like to see that the outcome is not you present what you want to do, but we're going to wait on it 5 more years. And that is going to come out. If we can just break that and then say that next year we can do something, then it's a successful joint meeting.
Well, yeah.
That mindset, I hope the.
Right. The first thing that has to come out of this meeting because of a sense of urgency is that the money that they've set aside for the $1.50 needs to go to operation.
Right.
We need to show that we need that money in operation, not capital.
Correct.
And that we can do we need to do without this money. Because we have operational needs. I mean, you all submitted $8 million and they gave us 3.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's a no-brainer there.
Right.
And so we need to show that, convince them now that we need the money now in operation, because there is going to be a way as we move forward to talk about financing these projects.
And I think part of that educating community and some of the board supervisors is that we educate differently, just like we see in some of the videos we've had tonight. Because I do think sometimes there's some closed-minded with community members on what type schools we build, things like that. And I don't think they really truly understand that. It's just like I've used this example before. If I ever build another house, I'm going to definitely build it differently and add the things that I didn't do the first time, and you're going to do that with schools as well. But sometimes people don't grasp that. They still think of how we educated 30 years ago and just...
Which is how we educated 100 years ago.
Exactly. So I do think that education piece is there because some of the conversations I've had is that has been brought out to me. And I'm like, it's just different. We educate, students are different now. We saw it tonight. And we need to have some buzz about that,
Yes, ma'am.
So.
I mean, when we were presenting at Eggs and Issues, we were talking about that exact thing.
Right.
And you could see some light bulbs there, like, oh, yeah, I guess that
Yeah,
makes
I just
sense.
think sometimes it's just kind of out of sight, out of mind kind of deal.
Well, and just the idea that students sitting in rows of desks staring at a chalkboard,
Right.
that's not real world either.
Right.
You know, they're wanting us to train kids for the workplace. Well, that's not how the workplace is. How many of you take a test every week in your workplace? You know, and get,
Well, and
and
it's
get
just-
graded and sit, you know, in rows.
And do it independently.
Yes.
No collaboration.
Well, and a lot of, you know.
That's just
schools
not
have
the real
visuals
world.
now and different things like that, so.
I mean,
It's
just
just
think of setting, half of our employees around this building, they're standing at their desk now.
Exactly, that's what I was gonna say.
I mean, it's just different because they see the value in that. And there's value with students being able to move as well.
I'm gonna circle back to this thing. I'll speak my piece about this. I'm gonna push back a little bit, and we can discuss at a different time. But my opinion on this is actually that I agree that we need that 1.5 cents and maybe more back into operations. And this is something I think I've been harping on. I was telling Connie today, since the campaign, I've been harping on the difference between operational budget and capital budget. And this is something we need to keep talking about, I think, with the Board of Supervisors. And I think that we need both. We need, if you ask me, I think we need the 1.5 cents and more, whatever we can get for the operational side. But on top of that, what you are presenting, I think, is almost like in a worst case scenario where we don't get any more other money, then this is what we can do, which puts CHS out 5 years or more before
Starting year 4 out.
Yeah, so we're looking at 4 or 5 years for an elementary school. How many years before we get CHS?
So it'd be 3 years elementary and
then when Harding keeps adding a classroom. I'm not saying they're going to do that for 8 straight years, but we're in a very dynamic situation in this county, and it's a good thing. I mean, we've got a lot of growth, but I mean, the plan that we're putting forward is kind of a bare bones if everything goes right, and we're already seeing that we see more growth in that. So I don't want to lose the opportunity to communicate to the Board of Supervisors that even something like this, in and of itself, is really kind of dire and may lead to us spending our capital money on modulars. And so I don't want to lose the opportunity here when we've got the entire community behind us, to basically to not do this on a shoestring and to not do this if everything goes right, 100%, because we know it doesn't. So that's kind of where I'm coming from on this.
And just to stop playing catch up. I mean, we're not making any ground on meeting our capacity issues. We're falling behind. And at this point, we have no reason to think that's going to change. Tech is going to continue to grow. People are going to continue to move to Montgomery County, at least for the near future. So, I mean, I do agree with Mr. Trabaka. Yes, you're giving them an option to meet the current needs, but we know they're going to get worse. And, the question I have for them is, are we going to continually just play catch up?
And I agree, but on the operational side as well.
Oh, I agree. We need that. Yes,
I mean,
yes.
last year we were behind Rafford City Schools in steps 0 through
And we're playing
10.
catch up there too. That's the point. We're playing
Catch up in both sides.
0 through 10, they again gave a larger raise than we gave, and now we're behind 0 through 20.
Right.
So we're behind on that end as well.
Exactly. We're playing catch up on operations and we're playing catch up on capital constantly.
You're right. So it's both.
Yes,
so,
sir.
I mean, I appreciate the creativity, and because we still, need to be as good a stewards of our resources as we can in all of this. But like I said, I mean, I do think that we have the community behind us on this, and I'd like to have it would be good, like you said. I mean, we are supposed to lay out our needs, and laying out this stuff is fine, but I think that, as Ms. Froggett was saying, I'm not sure that it really captures what our needs really are. It's kind of barely maybe if this is what we, so.
Just give us, here's what I ask, is what I'd ask from the Board of Supervisors as well, is let us, myself and Tommy and Mr. Meadows, let us do our work and come to you as a team between the two boards and then evaluate what we have.
Okay,
You gotta start somewhere. You gotta have a starting point.
Because I really think, I think you're going to like our plan and see it's not just halfway done.
Yep.
That it is viable and it will meet our needs now and for many years in the future. Just give us a couple of weeks to the joint meeting and we'll share that information with you in more detail and make it obviously more visual. Wasn't planning on going this far down the road today. Give our teams a chance, because what's happened too, I'm not saying we've done this, but the Board of Supervisors in some ways have jumped ahead of this and jumped ahead of us. I mean, from even the point of bringing in Davenport on December 17th. They jumped ahead of us to head off the PPEA, possibility. As opposed to, we had then agreed to, regardless of what we got from the PPEA, we had agreed with Mr. Meadows, we're going to work on a plan together, but let us get there before anyone says no. let us at least give us a shot before anyone says no to what we're going to propose.
No, we're not saying no.
I know.
No,
I know.
some people were.
I know.
Yes,
I know.
you're right. Some
Yeah.
people are.
And so, so I look forward to March 19th. All right, it ought to be a wonderful meeting to be at.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kranz.
Okay. Last supplemental appropriation. This supplemental appropriation covers funds received from E-rate, Project Aware, and Youth Mental Health. We're asking you to authorize requests to the Board of Supervisors so that the funds will be appropriated back to us.
I have a motion to authorize a request to the Board of Supervisors for supplemental appropriation in the amount of $713,225.
So moved.
Second?
A motion and second. Any questions regarding that? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We approve the supplemental appropriation. That brings us to unfinished business. Any unfinished business, board members? Hearing none. How about the new business?
Not during budget season.
How about announcements and information? Any one announcement that I would like to share? Dr. Meyer and his team will be presenting what we are doing at Mcps on March 20th in an event that's sponsored by Lifelong Learning Institute, and it's going to be March 20th at 9 o'clock at Warm Heart Village Center. So if you like and it's free, and anybody who would like to come and listen can come and listen.
What was the date on there?
It is March 20th, and it's at 9 o'clock.
20th?
Yeah, Tuesday. And 9 to 10:30. It's like an hour and a half.
Sorry, but I ain't going back to Warm Hearth. I've been there the last 6 weeks, okay? I ain't going back.
Visited enough. Any other announcements and information? Hearing none, I think the next is agenda prep. And you'll see the dinner is at 6:30 and meeting starts at 7.
It's on our side, correct?
It's on ours.
Huh?
We haven't gotten an answer about whether it will be in this room.
Yeah, there's a request from the county that it's videoed. The best video would occur in here. The challenge is moving that podium. And so if they can move that podium, we can actually set the tables down here. If not, we'll have it on our side and we'll still do the audio.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah. I watched a couple of their meetings, their work session on their site videoed. So that is not a possibility?
We've done it once before with this school board, and what we found was you couldn't hear who
Oh,
was
I see,
speaking, you
yeah.
couldn't see who was speaking, and you couldn't see the presentations.
Okay, yeah.
Because
I
it's
just only saw
one
the- yeah.
camera with the
Stuck
microphone on
where
the
it is.
camera.
Yeah.
It's not even like the mics you have here. So we felt that that quality
Not gonna be worth.
wasn't as good. The audio that we get when we record audio on the other side,
Vice versa.
it is exactly what you're saying into your microphones.
That's very good.
So we
That-
felt like that might be clearer, but
Yeah, I think that's great, as long as somebody like to listen. Great. And next item will be closed session, so we're ready to enter the closed session. May I have a motion to go into closed session to discuss 2 student matters and 1 employee matter as authorized by Section 2.2-3711 of Code of Virginia?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Now we are in closed session.